The applause rolled across the NBC studio like gentle thunder as the cameras swept over the audience one final time before the commercial break ended. Bright lights reflected from polished wooden panels, and every seat was filled. People had arrived expecting laughter, celebrity stories, and another charming appearance from the world's most famous martial artist. Bruce Lee sat comfortably on the guest couch, wearing a dark navy suit, a white shirt, and a patterned tie. His posture was relaxed, almost effortless. A faint smile rested on his face as he answered the host's questions with calm confidence. Every movement reflected control rather than performance. The host chuckled. "So, Bruce, people everywhere say you're the fastest man alive. Is there anyone you've ever been afraid to fight?" The audience laughed. Bruce leaned back slightly before answering. "I've learned that fear usually disappears when respect enters the room." The audience applauded. It sounded like another thoughtful Bruce Lee answer. Then everything changed. The backstage curtain suddenly opened. Every conversation inside the studio stopped. Heavy footsteps echoed across the polished floor. Mae Young walked onto the stage. She wasn't dressed like a television guest. She wore gray training pants, a sleeveless athletic shirt, and black wrestling boots. Her shoulders looked powerful. Years of wrestling had given her thick arms and incredible balance. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She walked directly toward Bruce Lee. The host blinked. "Ladies and gentlemen, well, this is certainly unexpected." Mae ignored him completely. She stopped less than 2 feet from Bruce. The audience sensed tension immediately. Bruce slowly stood. He offered his hand politely. Mae never looked at it. Instead, she crossed her arms. "So," her voice carried through the silent studio, "you're Bruce Lee." Bruce nodded politely. "I am." "I've heard people say, 'Nobody can touch you,'" Bruce answered softly. "People enjoy stories." Mae stepped even closer. "I enjoy proving stories wrong." A wave of whispers moved through the audience. Nobody knew whether this had been planned. Even the host looked toward the producers behind the cameras. Several producers exchanged confused looks. This wasn't in the script. Mae continued staring into Bruce's eyes. "They say you're the greatest fighter alive." Bruce answered without changing his expression. "I never called myself that." Mae smiled. "But everyone else does." Bruce remained silent. Mae pointed toward him. "I don't believe you'd survive 30 seconds inside my wrestling ring." The audience gasped. Some laughed nervously, others leaned forward. Bruce simply smiled. "You may be right." Mae frowned. His answer wasn't what she expected. "You aren't going to defend yourself." Bruce folded his hands calmly. "I've learned that arguing rarely teaches anyone anything." Mae laughed loudly. "There it is. The philosopher, the movie star, the man who thinks speed beats power." Bruce shook his head. "I never said that." Mae took another step. "I've spent my life throwing around men twice your size. I've broken champions. I've made professionals quit. And you," she looked Bruce up and down, "look like you'd disappear the moment I grabbed your arm." The audience laughed again. Bruce never lost his smile. Instead, he looked directly at her. "I don't know what would happen." Mae raised an eyebrow. "You don't?" "No." Bruce's answer surprised everyone. "I've never wrestled you." The studio became strangely quiet. Mae expected arrogance. Instead, she found humility. For just a second, she hesitated. The host finally interrupted. "Well, I think we're all friends here." Mae turned toward him. "No, we're about to find out who's real." The producers behind Camera 3 immediately gathered together. One of them whispered, "Keep every camera rolling." Another producer spoke into his headset, "Don't cut to commercial." The director nodded. The audience could feel something extraordinary building. The host forced a smile. "So, what exactly are you suggesting?" Mae answered instantly. "A match." The audience erupted. Bruce remained motionless. The host laughed nervously. "Surely you don't mean right now?" "I do." Bruce looked toward Mae. "What kind of match?" Mae smiled confidently. "My ring. My rules. My world." Bruce thought for several seconds. The silence stretched across the studio. Finally he answered, "I'll step into your ring." The audience exploded into applause. "But," Bruce continued, "I won't step inside to embarrass you. I'll step inside to understand you." Mae laughed again. "You'll understand the ceiling after I throw you into it." The audience roared. Backstage, NBC executives had already begun making phone calls. The network owned a small demonstration wrestling ring used occasionally for stunt rehearsals and promotional events. It wasn't large, but it was fully functional. One producer looked toward another. "Can we build it?" "It'll take 20 minutes. "Do it!" Stage workers immediately disappeared behind the curtains. Nobody had permission. Nobody cared anymore. Ratings were climbing every minute. The audience sensed history unfolding before their eyes. While technicians assembled the ring backstage, the interview continued. The host tried easing the tension. "Bruce, do you honestly think martial arts can compete with professional wrestling?" Bruce answered carefully, "I don't think they're enemies. They simply solve different problems." Mae interrupted. "No. They answer one question. Who stays standing?" Bruce nodded respectfully. "Perhaps. But there are many ways to remain standing." Mae folded her arms. "You'll learn there's only one way." The cameras zoomed in. Neither fighter looked away. Their expressions couldn't have been more different. Mae's confidence came from years of physical domination. Bruce's calmness came from complete control of himself. One looked like a storm. The other looked like still water. Minutes later, a stagehand hurried onto the set. He whispered into the host's ear. The host looked shocked. "They've actually finished setting up the ring." The audience immediately stood. Huge applause filled the studio. The curtains slowly opened. Behind them stood a full-sized wrestling ring under bright television lights. The white canvas looked untouched. Blue ropes surrounded the platform. Everything suddenly felt different. This was no longer an interview. Mae climbed onto the apron with effortless confidence before stepping through the ropes. She walked toward the center. Then she turned. Bruce was still standing outside. She spread her arms. "Come on. This is where legends disappear." Bruce quietly removed his suit jacket. He folded it neatly, placed it over the back of his chair. He loosened his tie, rolled his sleeves carefully. Every movement was slow, intentional, without drama, without fear. The audience became silent again. Bruce approached the ring. He paused beside the steps. For several moments, he simply looked at the canvas, almost as if introducing himself to unfamiliar ground. Mae shouted from inside, "Nervous?" Bruce smiled. "No." "I'm listening." Mae frowned. "Listening to what?" "The ring." She laughed loudly. "The ring doesn't speak." Bruce stepped onto the apron. "Everything speaks. You only have to become quiet enough to hear it." Even Mae couldn't think of a response. Bruce stepped through the ropes. The audience erupted once again. Now they stood only a few feet apart. No cameras, no interview, no jokes. Only silence. The host slowly climbed out of the ring, leaving the two alone beneath the brilliant studio lights. Around them, dozens of NBC employees crowded every corner. Camera operators abandoned their assigned positions to get closer. Lighting technicians stopped working. Security guards leaned against the walls. Nobody wanted to miss what happened next. A referee, pulled from the stunt rehearsal crew, nervously entered the ring. He looked at Bruce, then at Mae. I guess this is happening." Neither answered. The referee swallowed hard. "The demonstration will end after 30 seconds. Mae interrupted. "No. It ends when one of us proves a point." Bruce looked at her. "What point?" Mae answered quietly. "Whether discipline can survive raw strength." Bruce nodded. "And perhaps whether strength can learn discipline." For the first time that evening, Mae didn't smile. She realized Bruce wasn't trying to defeat her, he was trying to understand her. That somehow made him even more dangerous. The referee stepped backward. His heart pounded. Outside the ring, every producer stared at the monitors. One executive whispered, "If this goes wrong," another answered, "nobody will remember the interview." The referee slowly raised his hand. The audience held its breath. The lights reflected across the white canvas. Neither fighter moved, neither blinked. The bell was only seconds away from ringing, and everyone inside the NBC studio understood one thing. Whatever happened next would never be forgotten. The referee looked from Bruce Lee to Mae Young one final time. Neither competitor moved. Neither looked away. The atmosphere inside the NBC studio felt heavier than anyone could explain. Only minutes earlier, the audience had been laughing through another late-night television interview. Now hundreds of people stood frozen in complete silence, waiting for something no one had expected. The referee slowly raised his arm. "This is only an exhibition." Neither Bruce nor Mae acknowledged him. The referee inhaled deeply. Then the bell rang. Its sharp metallic sound echoed through every corner of the studio. The audience immediately leaned forward. Mae wasted no time. She exploded across the ring with surprising speed, closing the distance before most people could even process her first step. Bruce did not attack. Instead, he shifted backward with calm precision, allowing only inches to separate himself from Mae's reaching hands. Her fingers sliced through empty air. The audience gasped. Mae smiled. "So you can move," Bruce answered quietly. "I prefer moving before I'm forced to." She lunged again. This time she aimed directly for his shoulders. Professional wrestling had taught her that once she secured a grip, escaping became nearly impossible. Bruce pivoted smoothly. Mae's hands closed around nothing. Another miss. The audience applauded. Mae barely reacted. She wasn't frustrated. Not yet. She had expected Bruce to be quick. She simply believed speed couldn't last forever. Bruce continued circling the ring. Every step was measured. Every breath remained controlled. He wasn't searching for an opening. He was observing. His eyes followed Mae's feet more than her hands. Her balance, her rhythm, her breathing, her weight distribution. He was studying the language of her movement. Mae suddenly stopped chasing him. "You aren't going to fight?" Bruce smiled. "I already am." She laughed. No. You're avoiding me. Bruce shook his head. I'm learning you. Mae charged again. This time she cut off the angle instead of running straight toward him. Bruce noticed immediately. She wasn't simply powerful. She was intelligent. Every failed attempt had become information. She was adapting. Bruce slipped sideways. Mae reached farther than before. Her fingertips brushed Bruce's sleeve for the first time. The audience erupted. Mae grinned. Almost. Bruce nodded respectfully. Very close. She took that as encouragement. Without warning, she launched forward with even greater force. Bruce narrowly escaped the grab, but now his back came within inches of the ropes. The crowd reacted instantly. Someone shouted, "He's trapped!" Mae heard it too. She smiled confidently. There you are. For the first time since the bell rang, Bruce had nowhere obvious to retreat. Mae advanced slowly now. She wasn't rushing anymore. She knew experienced wrestlers didn't waste opportunities. Bruce remained relaxed. His breathing never changed. Mae stepped closer. Another step. Another. Only 1 yard separated them. Then she attacked. Her arms shot forward like steel cables. Bruce bent at the exact instant her hands reached him. Instead of moving backward, he moved underneath. Mae's arms crossed above his shoulders. Bruce rotated past her. The audience exploded. Nobody expected him to escape that way. Mae spun around immediately. Her confidence remained, but now curiosity had entered her expression. You've practiced against wrestlers before? Bruce shook his head. No. Mae narrowed her eyes. I don't believe you. Bruce answered honestly. I've practiced understanding people. Mae rushed forward once again. This time she never reached for his shoulders. She aimed lower. She wanted his waist. Bruce instantly recognized the adjustment. She was eliminating his angles. He stepped sideways. Mae followed. Bruce stepped again. Mae followed again. The audience realized something incredible. Neither fighter was wasting energy. Every movement had purpose. Every step created another question for the other person. The contest had become a conversation without words. Mae suddenly surprised everyone. Instead of grabbing, she shoved Bruce with both hands. Not enough to knock him down, only enough to disrupt his balance. Bruce slid backward across the canvas. His heel touched the bottom rope. Mae attacked immediately. Bruce ducked beneath another powerful grab. But this time, Mae managed to hook one arm around his shoulder. The audience screamed. For the first time, Mae had him. Bruce instantly felt the difference. Her grip wasn't simply strong, it was unbelievably disciplined. Years inside wrestling rings had transformed every muscle into controlled power. Mae tightened her hold. Bruce remained calm. She smiled. I told you. You can't stay away forever. Several people in the audience stood up. Camera operators abandoned professional composure. Everyone wanted a better angle. The host quietly whispered, "My goodness." Mae shifted her weight. Bruce immediately recognized what was coming, a hip throw. If she completed it, the entire studio would witness Bruce Lee crashing onto the canvas. Mae began turning her body. Bruce moved at the exact same moment. Instead of resisting, he followed her motion. His feet glided with her rotation. Her throw never reached full power. Mae frowned. Bruce had somehow removed the force before it could develop. Still holding him, she tried changing directions. Bruce adjusted again. To everyone watching, it looked almost unreal. Neither person appeared to control the exchange completely. Each movement erased the other's advantage. Mae suddenly released him. She stepped back. Her breathing had grown heavier. Bruce's breathing remained unchanged. "You don't fight like anyone I've ever met." Bruce inclined his head slightly. "Neither do you." The compliment surprised her. "You mean that?" "I do." She looked at him carefully. "You're not mocking me," Bruce answered. "Respect has no reason to mock." For a brief second, the tension softened. Then Mae remembered the challenge. She clenched her fists. "This isn't over." Bruce nodded. "I know." Without warning, Mae exploded forward with even greater aggression than before. She covered the distance almost instantly. Bruce sidestepped. Mae anticipated it. She changed direction in mid-motion. Bruce's eyes widened ever so slightly. She had predicted him. Mae's shoulder drove into Bruce's chest. The impact pushed him backward several feet. The audience gasped loudly. Bruce's feet left the canvas for an instant before landing again. Mae immediately wrapped both arms around his upper body. Now she had complete contact. Cheers erupted throughout the studio. "She's got him! Don't let him go!" Bruce felt enormous pressure compressing his ribs. Mae planted her feet. Every muscle in her body tightened. Slowly, very slowly, Bruce began leaving the ground. The audience could hardly believe what they were seeing. Mae Young was lifting Bruce Lee. Bruce remained astonishingly calm. Instead of struggling wildly, he closed his eyes for the briefest moment. He felt her breathing, her heartbeat, the direction of her strength. He realized something. Mae generated incredible power. But every powerful movement began from one supporting foot. If that balance disappeared, the strength would disappear with it. Bruce opened his eyes. Very gently, he shifted one foot only a few inches. It looked insignificant, almost invisible. Mae continued lifting. Then, her supporting foot landed on a slightly different angle than she expected. Only half an inch. That was enough. Bruce rotated his hips without striking, without forcing, without pushing. He merely redirected the line of her balance. Mae suddenly froze. Her expression changed instantly. She wasn't falling, not yet, but for the first time, she realized Bruce had found the center of her movement. The audience sensed it too. The excitement became almost unbearable. No one spoke, no one blinked. Even the NBC executive standing behind the cameras forgot about ratings. They were witnessing two masters solving the same problem through completely different worlds. And everyone understood that the real battle had only just begun. A silence settled over the NBC studio unlike anything anyone had experienced before. Bruce Lee and Mae Young stood almost motionless in the center of the ring. Neither had landed a decisive technique. Neither had been thrown to the canvas. Yet every person watching understood they were witnessing a contest between two completely different philosophies. Mae's world was built on overwhelming force, relentless pressure, and absolute control once contact was made. Bruce's world was built on timing, balance, and allowing strength to defeat itself. The referee looked at the stopwatch in his hand. 30 seconds had already passed. He raised his voice. "The agreed time is over." Nobody moved. The audience immediately began chanting, "Keep going! Keep going!" The sound echoed throughout the studio. Even the host found himself clapping. The producers exchanged nervous glances. One executive spoke into his headset. "We're already off schedule." Another answered, "Forget the schedule." "No one is changing the channel." The director made a quick decision. Every camera remained live. Back inside the ring, Mae slowly straightened her posture. She wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead. For the first time that evening, She no longer looked amused. She looked challenged. She stared directly into Bruce's eyes. "I underestimated you." Bruce inclined his head respectfully. "And I underestimated wrestling." Mae nodded. "Good. Now we can stop pretending." Without another word, she exploded forward. This attack was completely different from the earlier exchanges. She no longer chased Bruce. Instead, she controlled the center of the ring. Every step forced Bruce toward the ropes. Every movement closed another escape route. Bruce immediately recognized the strategy. She wasn't hunting him anymore. She was shrinking his world. The audience noticed it as well. Bruce circled left. Mae intercepted. Bruce turned right. Mae cut him off again. Within seconds, Bruce found himself standing only a few feet from the ropes. Mae smiled. "No more room." Bruce glanced briefly at the ropes behind him, then back at Mae. "You've built an excellent trap," she answered confidently. "I've spent decades building them." She attacked. Bruce slipped aside. Mae had expected it. Instead of reaching with both arms, she grabbed with only one. Her hand locked around Bruce's wrist. The audience erupted. "There! She caught him!" Mae immediately pulled him toward her. Bruce stepped forward instead of resisting. His decision surprised everyone. Rather than pulling backward, he entered Mae's space. She attempted to wrap her other arm around his shoulders. Bruce lowered his center of gravity. Their bodies collided. For a split second, neither could move. Muscles tightened. Shoes pressed against the white canvas. The ropes trembled slightly behind them. The entire studio held its breath. Mae increased the pressure. Bruce felt the incredible strength flowing through her shoulders and back. Most opponents would have tried to overpower her. Bruce knew that would be impossible. Instead, he listened. Every fighter had a rhythm. Every powerful athlete breathed in patterns. Bruce waited. 1 heartbeat. 2. Then he felt it. The exact instant Mae inhaled before increasing her force. Bruce rotated his wrist. Not violently. Not explosively. Only enough to change the angle of her grip. Mae blinked. Her fingers suddenly held less control than before. Bruce stepped diagonally. Mae instinctively followed. That single reaction changed everything. Her weight shifted onto one leg. Bruce gently redirected her shoulder. Mae stumbled 1 step. Only one. But the audience reacted as though lightning had struck the ring. A roar filled the studio. Mae quickly recovered. She smiled. "So that's your game?" Bruce smiled back. "I don't have one." "You always say things like that." "I simply answer honestly." Mae laughed, despite herself. "You really are impossible." Then, without warning, she charged again. This time, she reached Bruce. Both arms wrapped around his torso with crushing force. The audience exploded. "She's got him!" Bruce's feet lifted several inches off the canvas. Mae tightened her grip. Every muscle in her arms flexed. The pressure was immense. Bruce could feel his breathing becoming restricted. The referee stepped closer. "You both all right?" Neither answered. Mae slowly turned her body. Everyone recognized the movement. She intended to drive Bruce onto the mat. The host covered his mouth. "Oh no." Bruce remained remarkably calm. Instead of struggling, he relaxed. Mae frowned. She expected resistance. She found none. For one brief moment, Bruce's body seemed almost weightless. His hips shifted. His feet searched for the canvas. The instant one shoe touched the mat, Bruce rotated around Mae's center. Not away from her, around her. Mae suddenly felt Bruce disappear from directly in front of her. Her grip loosened instinctively. Bruce slipped free. The audience erupted into deafening applause. Mae spun around immediately. Bruce now stood only a few feet away, still balanced, still composed. His breathing had become slightly heavier, the first visible sign of fatigue. Mae noticed it immediately. "There you are," Bruce smiled. "You were looking for that?" "I wanted proof you're human." Bruce laughed softly. "I've never claimed otherwise." The audience laughed with him. Even Mae smiled, only for a moment. Then the competition returned. Mae adjusted her stance. She lowered herself slightly. Bruce recognized the change. She had abandoned traditional wrestling posture. She was adapting specifically to him. Bruce nodded with admiration. "You're learning," Mae answered. "So are you." Their respect for one another had grown with every exchange. Neither saw the other as an obstacle anymore. Each saw a master. Then the pace changed. Without warning, Bruce stepped forward first. The audience gasped. It was the first time he had initiated movement. Mae reacted instantly. She reached toward him. Bruce vanished to her left. Mae pivoted. Bruce appeared on her right. The audience could hardly follow the speed. Bruce never attacked. Instead, he kept changing angles. Each movement forced Mae to turn. Again, again, again. Her breathing became heavier. Bruce wasn't trying to defeat her with strikes. He was making every adjustment cost energy. Mae suddenly realized what he was doing. She stopped moving altogether. Bruce stopped as well. A smile crossed Mae's face. "You almost had me," Bruce answered. "You noticed. I've survived too many rings not to." The audience applauded both competitors. Backstage, an NBC producer stared at the live ratings monitor. "I've never seen numbers like this." Another producer whispered, "This wasn't supposed to happen." An executive looked toward the ring. "It doesn't matter anymore. Just keep filming." Back inside the ring, sweat glistened beneath the studio lights. Bruce slowly bowed. Mae looked surprised. "What was that for?" Bruce answered quietly. "For teaching me." Mae stared at him. "I haven't taught you anything." Bruce smiled. "You reminded me that every style becomes dangerous when guided by experience." Mae's expression softened. "And you reminded me that speed means nothing without patience." For several seconds, no one moved. The audience watched in complete silence. Then Mae raised both fists again. "One last exchange." Bruce nodded. "One last lesson." The referee stepped backward. Every camera zoomed in. No one in the studio blinked. The final exchange was about to begin, and no one realized that what happened over the next few moments would force NBC executives into a decision they would spend years trying to explain. The NBC studio had become almost unrecognizable. No one was thinking about television anymore. No one remembered the interview. The audience stood shoulder to shoulder, their eyes fixed on the ring beneath the brilliant studio lights. The host had abandoned his desk. Camera operators had moved as close as their equipment allowed. Even executives who normally cared only about ratings now stood silently behind the monitors. The final exchange was about to begin. Bruce Lee stood near the center of the ring. His breathing was steady. A light sheen of sweat reflected under the lights, but his eyes remained calm. Across from him, Mae Young rolled her shoulders one final time. She no longer smiled with confidence. She smiled with respect. "You've lasted much longer than 30 seconds, she said. Bruce answered softly, "I stopped counting." Mae laughed. "So did I." The audience laughed with her, breaking the tension for only a moment. Then silence returned. The referee slowly stepped backward. "This will be the final exchange." Neither fighter acknowledged him. Their attention never left each other. For several long seconds, nothing happened. It felt almost impossible. Two legendary competitors stood less than 10 feet apart without moving. Bruce watched Mae's shoulders. Mae watched Bruce's feet. Neither wanted to make the first mistake. Suddenly, Mae exploded forward with the fastest attack she had shown all night. Years of professional wrestling had taught her exactly when patience became hesitation. She refused to give Bruce another second to analyze her. She covered the distance instantly. Bruce moved, but Mae expected it. Instead of chasing him directly, she cut across the ring at an angle. Bruce changed direction. Mae matched him. The audience gasped. She had learned. Bruce immediately understood. She wasn't fighting the Bruce Lee she imagined before tonight. She was fighting the Bruce Lee she had studied during every second of the match. That made her far more dangerous. Bruce accelerated. His footwork became almost impossible to follow. He circled left. Mae intercepted. He pivoted right. She blocked the angle again. The ring suddenly felt much smaller. Bruce smiled. "So, you've adapted." Mae answered without slowing. "You taught me." For the first time during the exhibition, Bruce found himself with no clear escape. The ropes pressed lightly against his back. Mae stood directly in front of him. She stepped closer, slowly, confidently. "There isn't another direction." Bruce looked briefly toward the ropes, then back into her eyes. "There always is." Mae lunged. Both arms reached forward. Bruce slipped beneath the first grip. Mae instantly adjusted. Her right arm wrapped around Bruce's shoulder. Her left arm locked around his waist. The audience erupted. "She's got him!" This time, she truly did. Bruce could feel the crushing strength of decades spent inside wrestling rings. Mae planted both feet firmly. Every muscle in her body tightened. With remarkable control, she lifted Bruce completely off the canvas. Gasps filled the studio. The host covered his mouth. "I don't believe this." The audience erupted into thunderous applause. Mae slowly turned. Her intention was obvious. One controlled wrestling throw, no unnecessary force, no attempt to injure, simply a clean demonstration of wrestling technique. Bruce remained completely calm. His eyes closed for less than a second. He felt her center of gravity. He felt the pressure in her shoulders, the tension in her hips, the rhythm of her breathing. Then his eyes opened. Instead of resisting, Bruce moved with her. His right foot found the canvas for only an instant. His left shoulder rotated gently. His hips shifted only a few inches. Mae suddenly felt something she had never experienced before. Bruce wasn't escaping. He was changing the direction of her own movement. She instinctively tried correcting her balance. That single correction became the opening. Bruce lightly guided her arm, not with force, with timing. Mae's weight shifted beyond her own center. For one breathtaking moment, time itself seemed to stop. The audience stood frozen. No one breathed. Mae stumbled forward. One step, then another. Bruce released every bit of contact. He never pushed. He never struck. He simply allowed momentum to finish what momentum had begun. Mae lost her balance. She landed safely on one knee before placing a hand on the canvas to steady herself. Silence. Absolute silence. Bruce remained standing only a few feet away. He had never attempted to humiliate her, he had never celebrated, he simply waited. Mae looked at the canvas beneath her hand. Then she slowly stood. The audience remained speechless. The referee stared in disbelief. Finally, Mae looked directly at Bruce. A smile spread across her face. Then she laughed. Not out of embarrassment, out of admiration. "I've spent my whole life trying to overpower people." Bruce nodded. "I know," Mae continued. "And you spent this entire match trying not to overpower me." Bruce smiled. "I didn't need to." The audience suddenly erupted into the loudest applause of the evening. People stood on their chairs. Some whistled, others shouted Bruce's name. Others shouted Mae's. Neither competitor acknowledged the cheers. Mae slowly walked toward Bruce. Everyone expected one final challenge. Instead, she extended her hand. Bruce accepted it immediately. The audience exploded once again. Mae shook her head with a smile. "I was wrong," Bruce answered quietly. "We were both wrong." Mae raised an eyebrow. "How? I thought wrestling relied only on strength." Mae laughed. "And I thought martial arts relied only on speed." Both smiled. The referee stepped between them. "I believe we have our answer." The host climbed into the ring, still looking stunned. "I've hosted hundreds of television programs, and I've never witnessed anything like this." The audience applauded again. Bruce turned toward them. This wasn't about proving one style superior. He looked toward Mae. It was about discovering what each style could teach the other. Mae nodded. "Real fighters don't destroy respect. They build it." The crowd answered with another standing ovation. Backstage, the celebration never reached the executive offices. Inside the NBC control room, the mood was completely different. Producers replayed the recording from multiple camera angles. One executive rubbed his forehead. "This looks too real." Another nodded. "People will think this was an official contest." A lawyer entered the room carrying several documents. "If this airs exactly as recorded, we'll receive complaints from athletic organizations, wrestling promoters, and sponsors." Another executive sighed. "But it's incredible television." "It is, which makes it even more complicated." They watched Bruce helping Mae out of the ring. No insults, no celebration, no controversy inside the ring itself, only mutual respect. Yet they worried viewers would misunderstand what they had seen. After nearly 2 hours of discussion, a decision was made. Only short highlights would ever be broadcast. Most of the match would remain locked inside the network archives. Weeks later, rumors spread across America. Some people claimed Bruce Lee had defeated Mae Young in less than half a minute. Others insisted Mae had dominated him for the entire exhibition. Some said the footage proved martial arts were superior. Others claimed wrestling had exposed Bruce's weaknesses. No version matched what had actually happened, because almost nobody had seen the complete recording. Years passed. The story became television folklore. Each retelling grew larger than the last. Some called it impossible. Others called it the greatest unscripted demonstration ever filmed. Those who had actually been inside the NBC studio remembered something entirely different. They didn't remember victory. They didn't remember defeat. They remembered two extraordinary competitors entering the ring determined to prove each other wrong, and leaving it having proved something far greater. That true mastery is never measured by domination. It is measured by the respect you show when you finally realize your greatest opponent has become your greatest teacher. And, according to the legend that continued to circulate for decades, somewhere inside the NBC archives, a forgotten tape still waited, labeled with nothing more than a production date, containing the exhibition that countless people claimed they had seen, but almost no one ever truly had.